Okay, this question is just like really important for algebra, and I feel like people just like don't know this. I feel like I'm constantly teaching people this who are 11th and 12th grade. They're in pre-calculus or calculus in school. So this is something you've learned a long time ago. But I maybe it's the fractions, but this is a case where we really just want to memorize. Now, W is the answer choices, and so there's a way that I guess we could guess and check here and work backwards, but I have a feeling that if you don't know the rules of fractions, that the guess and check is just going to be very difficult. So I'm just going to call this like a straight up just memorize how to do this. Whenever in math we have a fraction that we want to get rid of that's attached to something through multiplication, okay, so that 3/5 is attached to the W through multiplication. Well, because of the order of operations, we know that the way to get rid of multiplication is by doing the opposite, which is division. Now, we could divide both sides by 3/5. That's mathematically fine, and if you remember how to do that, go for it. Knock yourself out. But there's a little bit of a shortcut, and I think it's much more helpful because the easiest thing that we can do with fractions is multiplication. Okay, it's the easiest operation with fractions. So let's stick with that if we can. And so what we're going to do to get rid of the 3/5 is multiply by the perfect number that makes it disappear. Okay? And it's going to look pretty much like what we have. It's just the flipped version of it. And that's called the reciprocal. Okay? That's a good word to know. The reciprocal of a fraction is just the opposite version of it, the flipped version. So now 5 is on top, and that's really convenient for us because if 5 is on top, then it crosses out with the 5 that's on the bottom, right? Because that's how any fraction works. That's how we reduce fractions, is if there's a number on the top and a number on the bottom, we can cross them out, right? So the same thing happens with the 3's. 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, they're going to cancel. And so when we chose this number 5/3, what we're really doing is we're creating a perfect situation where all the numbers reduce to 1. So these are all now 1's, and 1W is just W. But of course, in any algebra situation, if you do something to one side of an equation, you've got to do it to the other side. So we have to multiply both sides by that reciprocal, so that way there's balance, okay? And so now on the right side, nothing really impressive happens. We just multiply fractions. And like I said, multiplying fractions is the easiest thing that you can do with fractions because you just multiply across. So 4 times 5 is 20. 3 times 3 is 9. So the answer is D, 29ths. So there you go. That is, in my opinion, a very, very important concept in algebra and in math that is not well understood, but it should be. Because if you don't like fractions, it's probably because you don't really know how to deal with them and move them away and get rid of them. And so the reciprocal is a very powerful way of kind of dealing with all that annoying fraction stuff. Again, like I said, you could also guess and check. I'm not going to waste your time with it because I do think that I want you to absorb this reciprocal idea. So if you struggled with this question, rewatch the video a million times if you need to. This is a very important concept in math. It will come up on the SAT. It won't always be as isolated as it is in this question where it's pretty much only about that. So you'll need to be able to work with it in much more complex stuff as well. So make sure you learn this skill.